This video is brought to you by the 3rd edition Brexit the Colouring Book. Relive the whole process, get the TLDR team's analysis, an exclusive video, and have a little colour, as well as supporting the channel by picking up a copy. And you can also get a never for sale number 10 pin badge absolutely free with your purchase if you click the link in the description. We're not the first ones to notice this, but it seems like what was once called Project Fear is becoming reality, with many of the Brexit worst-case scenarios filling the headlines. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what the government's own report said would happen after Brexit, which was once called Project Fear, and see if that's what we're experiencing currently. Usefully for this video, back in 2019, the government published Operation Yellowhammer, their plan for what could happen after the worst possible no-deal Brexit. This report was designed to warn people and businesses about what could happen, and help with any preparations. But fortunately, many Brexiteers labelled it Project Fear version 2, saying that it could be simply ignored.
There'd be food shortages is complete and utter rubbish. It's Project Fear Mark II. It should be utterly, completely, totally disregarded.
So let's run through some of the things that the Yellowhammer report warned us might happen. And before we do, this is what was expected if we didn't get a deal at all. We obviously did, and the government said it was a great deal. So the issues in this report shouldn't be a concern. Regardless, it said there'd be disruption of HGVs across the channel, resulting in shortages. There'd be disruption to energy supply, leading to significantly increased prices. Medical supply chains would be disrupted and delayed. Availability of food, especially fresh foods, would decrease, leading to increased prices, which would disproportionately hit the lowest earners. And fuel shortages would emerge due to logistical disruptions, which would lead to panic buying. So, which of these things have emerged? Because that list sounds pretty familiar, right? At the moment, the UK is struggling with food shortages, fuel shortages, and significantly increased energy prices. Now, obviously, it's worth noting that these things aren't entirely due to Brexit, and they've got different causes than those envisioned by Project Yellowhammer. For example, Yellowhammer predicted that we'd have food and fuel shortages because HGV drivers would struggle to cross the GB-EU border without the correct post-Brexit paperwork. Today though, we've got shortages because we don't have enough HGV drivers, in part because Brexit ended freedom of movement. Yellowhammer also predicted disruption to the energy supply because we'd suddenly leave the EU's common energy market. Today, we've got energy supply problems because there's a global energy crisis. This might have been exacerbated by the fact that we have left the EU's single day ahead coupling mechanism, otherwise known as SDAC. SDAC is pretty complicated, but the basic idea is that all EU states share their electricity to harmonise prices. And this is done by an algorithm. Now the UK has left the EU, it's no longer part of SDAC, which means that instead of having electricity allocated to it by an algorithm, it has to actually ask Europe for its electricity. This could be good for the UK when it's got more electricity, because it will be able to wangle a higher price out of the EU. But when the UK is in desperate need of electricity, it's not so good, because the UK has to take part in what's known as explicit auctions, and normally ends up paying a higher price than it would have done otherwise. So you get the point. Some of the predictions in Yellowhammer have come to pass, but not because of the reasons mentioned in the Yellowhammer report, or at least not entirely. This is unsurprising in some sense, because Yellowhammer was a contingency plan for a no-deal Brexit, which isn't what happened. Nonetheless, it's remarkable that those who accused this report of being Project Fear at the beginning are very often those who are in power now. They said that claims of shortages were over-exaggerated, and that there wouldn't be any serious disruption as a result of Brexit. Now though, it seems that the tone has shifted. Now, Johnson is claiming that people did vote for shortages in 2016 and 2019, and in fact, these issues were caused by businesses failing to prepare and pay their staff enough. You might think that this is unfair. After all, Johnson was dismissing the possibility of an immediate post-Brexit disruption, and in a sense, he was right. Britain didn't immediately turn into a Mad Max dystopia once it left the EU. Nonetheless, Johnson and co dismissed the idea of any Brexit-related disruption, insisting that we'd have sunlit uplands, and everything would be better. And now that Brexit disruption has occurred, Johnson's insisting that it was the plan all along, and that the people consciously voted for it back in 2016 and 19. That's an impressive flip from saying that the plan was Project Fear and should be disregarded to saying it was always going to happen and it's the fault of businesses for not preparing. There certainly are other factors for all of the issues at play at the moment, and Johnson could be right that this will all lead to a pay rise for the poorest people in the country, something we discussed in another video linked down below. But it's certainly interesting to see how when realities change, narratives very comfortably shift. Basically, if you ever expected a satisfying ending to the Brexit fight, one where one side admitted they were wrong, it's not coming soon, if ever. What do you think though? Comment your thoughts on the current situation and the impact of Brexit thus far in the description. Like I said at the start, you can also support the channel by getting yourself or a friend a copy of Brexit the Colouring Book. The book contains 25 images from the Brexit process, as well as a custom commentary from the TLDR team and a never-released video. So even if you're not into colouring, hopefully you can still enjoy it. Anyway, right now you can get a 10 Downing Street pin with your book absolutely free if you click the link below. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.